That's 616-774-2424. It's West Michigan Live with Justin Barkley on Wood Radio.
Good morning, folks. It is Monday. Lots to discuss. Prosecute Fauci. Maybe one of the most interesting tweets of all time. This one from Elon Musk. Is the Twitter files drip is turning into a bit of a flood. What are we on? 3 now? Three leaks or statements from Twitter about what they found inside the company. I think we're waiting on the 4th one right now. We get into all that detail. The latest, where was I Friday? A little behind the scenes for you. We'll get into that. Plus a very important day today. Talk about it all.
News, weather, and traffic. And the biggest stories of the day. We're talking about what matters most in West Michigan and beyond. This is the Big Three. Now today's Big Three.
It's the stories that matter most. You'll be talking about these around the water cooler, the dinner table, no matter where you are. These are those stories. Powered by our good friends at Heartland Home Mortgage. We had a little bit of credit card debt. You know, the prices, the interest rate going up to the roof on these things at 25, 26%, some of this stuff. And I said, we got to get rid of this. This is crazy. Look at what you're paying month after month. Decided to consolidate some of that. So we went to Heartland Home Mortgage, did a HELOC. That's a home equity line of credit. Maybe you got credit card debt, or maybe you want to do some things to make improvements on the home like we're thinking about. Put a little more cash back in your pocket. They can do you. Help it. Whatever you're looking to do, they've got solutions for everybody. Maybe even a refi. You're possibly looking to buy a home right now. They'll help everyone in their own way, the way that they need to help. It's a custom solution for every single person. Dave Galloway and the team standing by to talk to you at 616-974-9105. Pick up the phone and see if they can help you get it done before the new year. Online at hhmlending.com. Twitter files. Drips turning into a full-fledged flood. Elon Musk dropping the third set. Twitter files detailing federal involvement in the decision to ban President Trump off of Twitter. We'll walk through the threads step by step coming up. I've been off for a couple days, so, missed some of this, but maybe you have too. We'll get into all of it, what it means for Twitter and the country coming up. Well, they say gas prices are dropping, but it doesn't feel like it here in West Michigan. The national average down 52 cents in the last month, 6 cents lower than this time last year. I will tell you, personal experience. I was in Oklahoma this weekend. And actually, right when you enter into Missouri, when you get past Illinois, you're driving through that area, the prices just drop like a rock. Lowest I paid, you're not going to believe this, especially in West Michigan. It may make you want to set your car on fire. $2.51 a gallon. That's the lowest I paid. Come back here, $3.59 in my neck of the woods. It's the same gas. It's the same gas, people. What is, well, you know what the difference is? Taxes. Big part of it, taxes. We'd be paying 50 cents more if Whitmer had her way. Just unbelievable. Charges against former Michigan governor, speaking of which, regarding that Flint water crisis, have been dismissed. A judge dismissing several charges. Former governor Rick Snyder, that tough nerd, getting out of a pickle, the 2014 Flint water crisis, because the charges were not properly brought. Now, whose job is it to bring those charges and to prosecute? Well, that would be Attorney General Dana Nessel. She is the one that screwed the pooch, so to speak. A Michigan judge dismissing charges leveled there at former Governor Rick Snyder. Early 2021, Nessel filing the charges against 9 state officials, this according to Blaze, including Snyder, who she said were responsible for the decision to draw municipal water from the Flint River temporarily while a new pipeline to Lake Huron was under construction. Unbeknownst to the Flint area residents, the water diverted from Flint River was not properly treated and an old pipe system containing lead often meant unsafe drinking water funneled directly into their homes. Investigators claiming the contaminated drinking water may have caused an outbreak of Legionnaire's disease, which claimed the lives of 12 people and affected at least 90 others, they say. Rather than secure indictments for the state officials through a grand jury, Nestle's appointed special prosecutor, Fadwa Hamoud, and Wayne County prosecutor Kim Worthy exploited a loophole in the Michigan legal system, which permits a one-judge grand jury in rare circumstances. This just reeks of corruption. Hamoud and Worthy appointed Judge David Newblatt of Genesee County to act as the one-judge grand jury and invested him with full authority to investigate evidence and issue indictments. Radical leftist Dana Nessel has since announced previously, I believe it was this morning on Twitter, that she is leaving Twitter. This is just too much, she says. Too much. One of the tweets that she thought was too much was a tweet from Elon Musk, who said, look, I'm not using, and I guess Scott Kelly, senator out of Arizona, very upset with Elon Musk because Musk's tweet that I told you about earlier, Fauci should be prosecuted, kind of a tongue-in-cheek tweet. He said, my pronouns are prosecute Fauci. That was yesterday. We woke up to that. Arizona's Scott Kelly not happy about that. And he replied to Musk saying, please don't mock and promote hate. Well, this isn't mocking or promoting hate. But, you know, everybody, the constant perpetual state of victimhood in this country. Everybody's like, once you're a victim, you got to stay a victim. So then, and of course, you know why? Because only if you're a victim, there's, you know, you can only look to government or someone else to really help you. You can't get out on your own. Government's got to be there to save you. So Scott Kelly jumping in, being the hero. Furthermore, Kelly says, and by the way, this should tell you everything you need to know about this. Furthermore, he says, Dr. Fauci is a dedicated public servant whose sole motivation was saving lives. You can't. Oh, yeah, no. It doesn't get any better. It doesn't get any better than that, does it? Holy moly. From the high priest of health, St. Anthony of Wuhan, Mr. Booster, patron saint of pandemics, it's Tony Fauci. He's on his way out, but will he be prosecuted? Musk tweet over the weekend saying, yeah, prosecute Fauci. He says, my pronouns are prosecute Fauci. And again, you saw the left fake their meltdown. I just told you what Scott Kelly, the senator from Arizona, said. Hey, don't do that. It's hate. It's not hate. Oh, it's Mark Kelly? No, it's not. It's just Scott right here. Oh, so he's not the, so what's this guy, the astronaut then? Well, they're both astronauts. They're twins, right? So he's a former NASA astronaut. So he's not a senator. Oh, there you go. So there's two of them walking around, and they're equally as loony, apparently. I did know. I did know they were twins, but I didn't realize this guy wasn't a senator. So anyway, Scott Kelly, the NASA, the astronaut, very upset, apparently. Thank you for the correction, John said. Wait a minute, it's not the senator. So anyway, a couple of double loons, by the way, walking around out there. Heads in the clouds, apparently one of them still up in space. Elon says, I strongly disagree. Forcing your pronouns upon others when they didn't ask and implicitly ostracizing those who don't is neither good nor kind to anyone. The truth bombs are dropping early, apparently for an Elon Musk. As for Fauci, he lied to Congress and funded gain-of-function research that killed millions of people. Not awesome, IMO. in my opinion, is what that's short for. Not awesome. God, not awesome. So why is this, by the way, why is this a Rona report-worthy story? And again, the Dana Nessa connection is that she tweeted this morning that she was leaving, so she's going to miss people on Twitter, and that this tweet from Elon was just too much. It was too much, folks. They locked you down. They came and arrested Marlena before she was able to go on Fox News and Tucker Carlson show. She's just trying to feed her family and her community, keep her restaurant open. They locked you down and threw away the key. And apparently she believes that, telling the truth on Twitter is the dangerous. That's too much. It's bridge too far for Dana Nessel. It's gone too far. She's got to draw the line somewhere. But, this is the woman who sent state police, the wee hours of the morning to Marlena's home to tail her and follow her as she was on her way to open a restaurant in Holland that morning to pick her up, intercept her. Speaking of emails, we have the emails. She said, let's get her before she goes on Tucker. So last thing she wants is you and I hearing, or anyone else for that matter, hearing or speaking the truth. No one's safe in Dana Nessels, Michigan. Voters had a chance to rectify that in November. They did not, or was something else in play? Well, I don't know if we'll ever really know. We're starting to get some of the information about how Twitter did, in fact, according to Elon, the man who now owns the company and the crime scene, as he calls it, has been releasing the emails and the intra-office communications. We have the details. We know what they did. He said they interfered in elections. Not just the 2020 election, apparently, but multiple elections. It would appear possibly in the latest in Arizona. Secretary of State there oversaw her own election for governor. Katie Hobbs, her office, the Secretary of State, sent an email saying, we gotta cut these accounts. They're spreading dangerous disinformation. Get these tweets taken down. Oh, they use the hotline. The Democrats love the hotline, apparently. Did it also occur in Brazil, where millions are protesting the outcome of that election there? What about in Peru, as we see the things that are happening, shifting all over the country? How many of these elections did Twitter monkey in? Great questions. You're just starting to barely scratch the surface and get some of the truth. So now we know that Twitter played a big role. Some of the things they did behind the scenes played a big role in removing Trump from the platform altogether, essentially trying to cut his voice altogether. Why is that? And what did they talk about behind the scenes? Well, I've got the emails. We'll go through it. All coming up in just moments. You can join the program anytime you like. 616-774-2424. Use the TalkBack feature on the iHeartRadio app. Click that microphone right next to the play button. Sound off, rant, rave, ask a question. Anything else you'd like to do this morning? Oh, yes, the name calling. Oh, you're spreading hate. It's dangerous disinformation, all of that, labeling and more. Yet to come, I'm sure folks like Dana Nessel getting whatever they wear or don't wear in a bunch. I don't want to assume anything, folks, but they're whatever they wear or don't wear in a bunch this morning over what we say or think or speak, and Elon Musk maybe even go so far to accuse you and me of being far right. We'll just tell them, look, we're not far right. We're just right so far.
Breaking down the story. It's West Michigan Live with Justin Barkley on News Radio Wood 1300 and 106.9 FM.
Tune in this weekend for Everyday Wealth with Soledad O'Brien and Gene Chatsky.
By the way, Twitter is proving it. We're going to do one of those T-shirts one of these days. Terry says, so hoping Musk is a true defender of freedom. So far, so good. Yeah. I'll reserve judgment. I'm gonna give you the good, bad, and the ugly, and I think we ought to welcome people into the movement of truth. Yeah, I'm not so sure about all of that. I'm not so sure about it all. Hang on, let me fix that just a little bit better there. Okay, I've got big news. First, I want to say good morning to a few folks, and I got to tell you guys something very important. Paula, Jessica, Matt, Mary, good folks jumping in this morning. Colette, Richard, good to see you. Tim, how many of you were on the fireside chat last night? You may have heard this. Let me check in with where are my folks here? The Rumblers. Rumble. Brumbies fan, Kimmy D, Stop PC, Pinky, good to see you too. And Getter, Flatlander, Additive, Steve, Josh, R. Reagan. Good to see you, Additive. Additive asked Friday, hey, where were you? Matter of fact, I will talk more about that. We did that in the fireside chat last night. But I'll talk more about that a little bit later on today. I'll give you the details. Give you the scoop on it. Locals was great night last night. If you haven't become a member yet, it's free to do that. And also, we got some new supporters today. Big thanks to Koresh, Union Trash, becoming both annual supporters. Tammy Adams, a new monthly supporter. Appreciate y'all. Good to see you if you're still sticking around. And pop up and raise your hand. Let me know who you are on here. All right, here's our big news, and I got to make this quick as I can. Today is the last day. I knew it was coming, and I just checked and got confirmation. Today is the last day to order from the store, justinbarclay.com, and guarantee that you'll get your order and get it under the tree in time for Christmas. Everything in the store, the tinfoil hats, the I told you so shirts, the hoodies, the beanies, the mugs, and more. All of it inside the store right now. Today's the last day to order and get your order in time for Christmas. At least the guarantee. So justinbarclay.com, 10% off for everybody with coupon code Big Guy. Taking 10% for the big guy. Back on the air. Hang on. Welcome in, folks. Like I said, join the program anytime. 616-774-2424. We'll go through some of the Twitter files, emails, and threads that were posted over the weekend. Is this the third drop now? Musk through Matt Taibbi, who again used to write for the Rolling Stone. He's a liberal, but not one who's off the meds, so to speak. He's a guy that seems at least to be the classic sense of the word liberal and free speech, at least detailing the reports of what Twitter didn't want you to know. We'll show you what hasn't been revealed. The erosion of standards within the company in months before January 6th, decisions by high-ranking executives to violate their own policies, and more against the backdrop of ongoing documented interaction with federal agencies, wrote Taibbi. Emails showed chaos internally as Twitter executives tried to find the rationale for suspending Trump. In other words, they had the man, they were looking for the crime. It wasn't like Trump was just out there blatantly violating their policies. No, they had to twist things, and they all talked about it behind the scenes, the emails revealing. The bulk of the internal debate leading to Trump's ban took place in those 3 January days. However, the intellectual framework was laid in the months preceding the Capitol riot, Taibbi wrote. After January 6th, internal Slack shows Twitter executives getting a kick out of intensified relationships with federal agencies. Hence the FBI. Here's Trust and Safety head Yoel Roth lamenting a lack of generic enough calendar descriptions to conceal his very interesting meeting partners. He continued. Taibbi reported that there was a tension between the Safety Operations Department, a smaller, more powerful cadre of senior policy execs. He said there was a clear interaction with federal enforcement and intelligence agencies. quote, those are quotes, about content moderation during that time. They worked with the federal government, a clear violation of the First Amendment rights in this country. And folks, the rabbit hole goes even further. It goes even deeper. And all of it comes back to this next subject that's dropping very soon, which is what they did with COVID. Hiding nearly all of this information that should have been shared. How many lives were lost because they played politics? How many lives are lost? How many people died? How many grandmas were killed because Twitter wanted to get rid of Donald Trump? I said it. Follow the science, folks. Follow the science. That's what we've been told. Follow the science. I heard Elon's next drop is today, which is all about disinformation pertaining to COVID and Fauci. That is the story. Now, we'll have to wait and see what actually transpires here in the next couple of hours, but that's what it seems like. All right. Is there any group or page that is fighting the China plant in Big Rapids, John says? Good question. Hang on one second. Let me show you this. Important stuff. Important stuff. This is the day, folks. I don't want you to miss this. I want you to be able to get whatever you need under your tree, but I got to make sure that you know that the day's the time to do it. This is it. 10% off for the big guy with the promo code. You can grab that right now, but make sure you get your orders in if you haven't done so yet. The new shirts, the I Told You So shirts and hoodies in various different sizes and colors. Some really cool ones up here. This might be my favorite, this new military green. Of course, it's got the flag on there now. You can see that. Flag, faith, family, freedom. And on the other side is my logo. So we've got some nice adjustments to these shirts. We keep tweaking them. We throw stuff out and then we keep tweaking it based upon your response and reaction. The tinfoil hats are out here as well. If you haven't grabbed one of those, the original is this bad boy right here, kind of the trucker style hat. But we have new ones too. I really like this camo baseball cap. Different colors as well. You can grab those, white, camo. I think that's more of a gray, red, and black. All of those available. And then the beanie. Somebody ordered the beanie and talked to, said, I got this for my husband. He's got the other hat and loves it. I thought he might like this too. The beanie comes in different colors as well. All of that online. And again, some of the stuff already discounted, but on top of it, we give you a 10% off discount. But anything from the store, all this stuff is printed on demand when you order it. And then it comes from, I think it's North Carolina. So today is the last day to guarantee getting it into your box. Now, if you're in Michigan, and you want to order one of my books, I might have a couple of left that I can sign and send to you. They actually come from me here in Michigan. Chances are you'll get that. We still got time for those. But I wanted to make sure that you knew about this just in time for Christmas. And that's all I want. I will say a little bit more a little bit later on, but I don't want to harp on this today. Pardon me. Is it American made? Sean, it is American printed. Most T-shirts and things that you get are not made in America. Nothing is the T-shirts and all that. They're all sourced out of places like, they're various different places, and some of them might even say on like the descriptions. But it's not like the T-shirts are made in China. Now, some of the stuff is, but I think it says if it is. We do our best. If I could, and I had my druthers, I would do everything American made. But the problem is with this company, and we tried to go through and get some of, and we had one shirt that I did that I was like an actual, it was like, hey, American made and proud was the shirt. Well, I had to discontinue it because they couldn't keep the shirts, the actual, the shirts that they print this stuff on. They couldn't keep them in stock. Had supply chain issues. So that's one of the things that we continue to see. And unfortunately, that's where we are. And we wouldn't have these problems if these companies and these plants never left the country. In fact, we wouldn't have these problems if they brought them back. We ought to see more of that. We ought to see manufacturing return to America. But anyway, that, what am I? I'm preaching to the choir on that one, I think. So there you have it. It is printed here in the USA, and it benefits our cause. Not only do you get to wear these things out and about so you can have great conversations, you can give them to people that are on the same page with you, help encourage those conversations. But the other thing is, you help support the show and get the word out about everything that we're trying to do. And we got big plans for the next year. Holy moly. I cannot wait to share some of the things that we have coming. Now, where was I this weekend? I know some of you want to talk about this. I think it's probably going to be more likely an after show issue. But this weekend, hanging out with General Flynn and Mike Lindell. That's why I wasn't here Friday. People are like, where were you Friday? Well, turns out in an undisclosed location, secret behind the scenes meeting. I talked a little bit about this last night in the Fireside Chat on Locals. If you haven't already checked that out, you might want to go back. It's up. It's posted at Locals. But I'll maybe share a little bit more of that coming up on the after show today. Hang on, folks. Back on the air here. Welcome back in, folks. It is West Michigan Live. Justin Barclay live high atop downtown Grand Rapids in West Michigan. Lots to cover today. So I'm walking through some of the Fauci stories. This is the next piece to drop. We're hearing today, maybe the fourth. The fourth in the report coming out today that will detail, they say this will solely detail the censorship that happened, and particularly around doctors and the expert. Remember, we're supposed to follow the experts. So this will detail particularly what happened, who was censored, why they were kicked off of Twitter. There was a time, in fact, we had dealt with this. There's a time you couldn't even say the things that we now know to be true. You couldn't even talk about. Wait a minute. Is it possible this thing was leaked out of a lab? Intentional or otherwise? No. You couldn't say that. In fact, you'd be banned off of YouTube and Facebook and all the dangerous disinformation. Now, it turns out there's a lot of folks who, and Fauci, I don't know, maybe he's turning the corner on that. It's possible, Anderson, what we know about that is that, it's possible that it came out of a lab. I understand. It was discovered in a wet market in Wuhan. And yeah, I get it. There is a place where we monkey with viruses just around the block from the wet market. But I really think what happened was this occurred naturally. In other words, somebody was eating a bat sandwich that day. And the bats were just naturally getting the coronavirus. So what happened was they ate the bat sandwich. Possibly it wasn't cooked properly. The temperatures weren't high enough. Yeah. Anderson's got questionable taste in himself, but I don't even think Anderson would eat or buy that bat sandwich theory. Oh, maybe it was a pangolin. Remember that thing? What was kind of like, what? A pangolin. What is a pangolin? I don't know. But it was possibly a pangolin that caused all the. No, you couldn't talk about any of this stuff. Now, Fauci, slowly but surely, we might be getting to the point where they'll admit these things. So that's the next big thing. Now, one of the questions I think you're fair to ask this is, well, it's nice that all this is coming out now, but, Is anybody really going to hear this? Is anybody really going to hear it? Will this get reported on the nightly news? Yeah. No, I share your concern. Here is Matt Taibbi talking about Donald Trump and what they did to him. The world knows much of the story of what happened. Now they'll know the behind the scenes. First installment covers a period before the election. Then Schellenberger, MD, will detail the chaos inside Twitter on January 7th after the election. Barry Weissel revealed the secret internal communications on the key date on January 8th. All of this stuff is coming up. Whatever your opinion, he says, on the decision to remove Trump that day, the internal communications at Twitter between January 6th and January 8th have clear historical import. Even Twitter's employees understood in the moment it was a landmark moment in the annals of speech. Is this the first sitting head of state to ever be suspended? Somebody asks. Yeah, they got the Ayatollah of Iran still on Twitter, by the way, folks. Yeah, he's still got his, all these crazy people still online, no issues, no problems. Trump was the deal. They had to get rid of Trump. And, because he violated policy. That was the reason. That was it. It was the policy. As soon as they finished banning Trump, Twitter execs started processing new power. They prepared to ban future presidents and White Houses, perhaps even Joe Biden. The new administration, says one exec, quote, will not be suspended by Twitter unless absolutely necessary. Another Twitter executive removed Twitter in part over what one executive called the context surrounding the actions by Trump and supporters over the course of the election. And frankly, last 4+ years, they said, quote, and in the end, they looked at a broad picture, but that approach can cut both ways. The bulk of the internal debate leading to Trump's ban took place in those 3 January days. Now, I'm, again, not telling you anything you necessarily don't know. Yeah, I'm not telling you anything that you're not already aware of. I'm not telling you anything you didn't already suspected. It now appears that, yes, Twitter was involved and maybe still is in some ways as an intelligence operation. And these folks were wielding massive power, illegally wielding massive power. I put all this up in the stack. You'll be able to get it today if you haven't read it yet. You don't know about it. Now you have confirmation, and we await the latest on Dr. Fauci. And, of course, the news that is yet to come, which I think may be some of the most interesting. How did they find it in their power, within the crosshairs of being able to go after folks with different opinions, including other doctors? Remember, like the inventor, Dr. Robert Malone, of the mRNA technology himself, Dr. Peter McCullough. I mean, these are folks that are, they're not crackpots in a basement somewhere. I know we laugh about this, but with their tinfoil hats on, just cooking up, crazy, wacky ideas, watching YouTube videos. Not there's anything wrong with that, but just saying, watching YouTube videos. So now I will tell you, one of the most interesting things that I've ever seen is happening right now. Trending on Twitter is the hashtag Fauci lied, millions died. And I want to tell you, there's something else that's happening. Twitter 1.0 is trending. They are now differentiating this as a complete break and calling us Twitter 2.0. And they'll say, well, Twitter 1.0, they did this, and Twitter 2.0, they'll never do that. So it's some really interesting things. However you feel about Twitter, wherever you stand on whether you like it or not, there's a bunch of negative trolling, just it'll always, I think, have a little bit of that negativity to it. But it is nevertheless some big things that are coming out as we speak. Now, I think this is an important question. John from Hudsonville has the same concern that I've heard other people voice before. In fact, I kind of share the same concern. John, good morning. How are you, man? Welcome on.
How are we doing, guys?
Wonderful.
Happy Monday.
Yes, sir.
My whole thing is all this stuff comes out. We win the House back. They do all these investigations, and what goes on again? Nothing. We're still doing mail-in ballots. Nobody's learned, and they're not going to do anything about it. And it just makes me sick. It's like it's a waste of our time to even go out and vote anymore if all you're going to do is cheat. How do we stop it? I don't know, but nobody else is doing anything about it. It's gone on in Arizona, all over, but nothing to see here. It's just conspiracy theory. And then it all comes out that it's true, but what happens? Oh, we'll slap their hand and let them go till they do it for the next election. Justin, I don't mean to be negative, but it's a fact. Nothing ever happens to them. That's all I got to say.
Appreciate the call, John. Would you be interested? I don't know, John, you still there? Yeah.
I'm here.
I was this weekend in an undisclosed location. That's why I wasn't on Friday. Meeting with Mike Lindell and General Flynn. Would you be interested in hearing what they had to say about all this stuff?
Absolutely.
Hang on. I'll get to it next. Stand by. Appreciate the call, brother. Because I think it does address this frustration that John has. Many others feel the same way, and questions that we brought up. We'll talk about all of it coming up, folks. Hang in there. You're in the right place. We'll get down to the bottom of it all after this.
Justin now at 616-774-2420. West Michigan Live with Justin Barker on News Radio 1300 and 106.9 FM. You wash your hands, you brush your teeth, but what about the nose? How do you clean your nose with no?
Okay. Well, John's got a good point. A lot of folks feel the same way. You're frustrated. You're fed up with it. I get it. You keep watching this stuff happening. You haven't seen anything happen yet, and anything that really, nothing's been done yet. So I'm like, what am I supposed to trust and expect that anything different will happen? That's where you come. I get it. Sean had a question. What percentage of the T-shirts that go to the show? This was earlier, by the way, last day to do it, in case you missed this earlier. I don't know if you've heard this yet, but last day to get your shirt or coffee mug or tumbler or hat. What else do we have in there? But, well, you might still be able to get the books for another couple of weeks. I say to get your order in and guarantee that it gets under your tree. Now, you might say, I want to risk it. And then that's up to you. But the last day to get in, 10% for the big guy, too, and use promo code Big Guy. So what percentage of all this goes to the show? 100% of the profits go to, in my humble explanation, if I can, 100% of the profits go to the show and whatever. We're also looking at a yacht fund right now, a mansion, and I was thinking about a Ferrari. 100% goes to support what we're trying to do here. Now, the stuff that I want to tell you, I can tell you this. I can tell you, you can handle this. The software that I use to stream to you every day is $100 a month. To be on Rumble and to stream live on Rumble is $100 a month. The software that I use to my volume is low. I got it cranked all the way up. I don't know what to tell you. Volume is low. Thank you, Jill, for the heads up. We'll try and figure that out. How's my volume sound to everybody else? It might just be your device. Anyway, I'm making the point. The software that I use to send emails out, the software that I use to send text messages out, all of that stuff, it costs money. So just to keep the thing running, we're at a flat number every month. All right. I hope I made that point. So thank you guys for your support. It definitely helps. Stand by. Back in just a moment. All right. Back at it. You know, we don't ever have enough time to get to everything in this hour. It like flies by. It's the fastest hour in radio. And it is like drinking from a fire. Each and every day, it's like drinking from a fire hose. And here's the I don't think that it gets better. So buckle up, folks. After show coming up, Facebook, Twitter, Twitch, Rumble, Getter, YouTube, the podcast to live on the iHeartRadio app or wherever you download your podcasts. So you can watch live there, including justinbarclay.com, behind-the-scenes live stream, and listen. Or you can go back and download it and listen to it. And this show included, whenever you like. Big thanks to some of the folks that helped make this show possible. One of our sponsors, the folks at Mentality, the newest, the latest sponsor. Man, they know you're important. No matter what you hear these days, trying to drum that into your brain, masculinity is toxic. Men are the problem. They believe otherwise. They believe that you ought to be the best husband that you can be. You ought to be the best father that you can be. And that, man, you got to be at your very best. So you can show up in your calling. No matter where you are, you're important. And we need you. And if you're feeling a little low energy, motivation, weight gain, muscle loss, fatigue, maybe you're tired all the time, you're anxious and depressed, it could be your low testosterone levels. And there is a war on men. Some of this is intentional, it looks like, but some of it you just can't help. Age is something that can obviously lead to lower testosterone levels and cause some of these issues. But the only way you're going to find out is to get checked. And the folks at Mentality want to make sure that that is easier, more, I think, easier and I know more important than ever before. So they've got a local healthcare facility specifically dedicated to helping men just like you feel and perform at their very best. They've got FDA-approved testosterone treatments, board-certified physicians who work with most insurance. But first, you got to find out where you are. Go to Mentality today at lowtusa.com. That's low, the letter T, USA.com. Go to lowtusa.com and take your life back. So John just called, and he made a caller on the phone, made a great point. John's one of the most spirited people that calls in here, and he feels this very similarly. I think a lot of people I talk to. But he says, it's great to hear all this. It's great to know that these things are happening. It's great to hear that, Republicans took control of the House. It's great to know that Elon Musk is bringing out all this. But what's going to happen? Essentially, he says, nothing ever happens. We have all this information. We hear about all this news. We see it all the time, but nothing ever happens. Well, it's a great point. This weekend, I took Friday off. It was like sort of I don't know, call it a conference, a workshop. It was a gathering of just a handful of certain individuals, like I said, in an undisclosed location in Tulsa, Oklahoma. Mike Lindell, the pillow guy. I'm hanging out with Mike Lindell, and I'm hanging out with General Flynn, General Michael Flynn. In fact, you'll be hearing more from these guys in the coming days on the program. And we'll be talking about some of the things we discussed there. But one of the things that people talked about was this idea of people starting to feel hopeless. You got to fight against it. The fact that we're in an information battle. psychological operations, and Flynn, with a bit of a background in that, understanding that, talked a bit about how we fight back. One of the things that was brought up, you probably hear this quite a bit. Doug, you got to follow the plan. Get the popcorn. We're going to follow the plan. Well, this was discussed in great detail. I will go further. I talked about it last night in my fireside chat on Locals, justinbarclay.com/locals. But I talked about it in great detail as I'll talk about it later on the after show. But somebody asked about this particularly. Following the plan. And it confirmed a lot of what I've seen and kind of come to grips with myself. He was emphatic, General Flynn. There is no plan. And I want to take that and actually expand upon it a little bit and tell you that there is a plan. But there is no plan in the sort of the way that some may think about and many may be telling you. There is no plan that somebody's just going to come and magically take over. There's no savior waiting behind the scenes to make it all better, folks. That's not what's happening. There's chaos happening at all levels and on both sides. It was every side. Let's put it that way. There's chaos. I've seen it. And on that very day, as we were told, hey, there is no plan. There's nobody waiting to come in behind, rush in for the wings. But there is this. Good news. In fact, on that day, Friday, the lawsuit was dropped. Big lawsuit dropped in Arizona with Kari Lake. I tend to think that one's going to go to the Supreme Court. Mike Lindell talked about it. He talked about some other interesting things we learned behind the scenes about how he's been involved with that lawsuit. What the RNC did is, it won't surprise you. But maybe I'll talk more about that in the after show a little bit later on. But Flynn, emphatic, there is no plan. I will tell you this, and Flynn's a man of faith, and I think he might have probably agreed to some of this if I were to share some of these things with him and discuss that too. There's no plan like somebody else has got a plan. The only plan there is God's plan. And being that we don't know every facet of that and every level of it and how things are going to win, we know the basics. Yeah, you read that book, you'll find out real quick there are things inside of there. Matthew chapter 24. I was reading that this morning. Really interesting stuff. God has a plan. And here's where it gets good, folks. Each and every one of us, you and I and everyone else, we all have a role. The church, the body of Christ, we are the arms, we are the legs, we are God moving in this country. Our founders were the very same way. There is no savior about to ride in on a white horse, but if each and every one of us do what we are called to do, we will take this nation back. No, we will take this world for the Lord, for freedom, for righteousness, for goodness, for our children. But we've got to be willing to listen. Listen to his word. Listen to his instructions. Heed them. We've got to have wisdom. We've got to have discernment. And then we've got to have the courage when we hear the instructions, when we get the marching orders, we've got to have the courage to move and do what he says. And I don't know what that might be. It may be something out of your comfort zone altogether, but it might be something right uniquely in your gifting. Something that you were uniquely created for, designed for. I'm not sure what it is. I know that this very moment, I am doing exactly what I was put here to do in this moment. We have seasons, different seasons for different things. But I'm clear on that. I don't know where God takes me tomorrow. I don't know where he takes us tomorrow. I don't know where he takes this nation tomorrow. But I can see God's hand. I can see him moving. And I know of a plan, and I know he works through us. Now, he doesn't need us. But, folks, it's a beautiful thing when we hit our knees and admit that we need him. This is how all of this works. It's how it all comes together. I'll talk more about this in the after show. You can join me there, justinbarkley.com. And, Don, I hope that answered some of the questions, some of the things I heard. I'll dive deeper into it a little bit later on the after show. Back tomorrow on the radio, 9:06. Yeah, the Supreme Court case. Bonnie, good question. That came up, that Brunson case. Maybe we'll hit a little bit on that later in the after show, too. And, of course, in the coming days here. More in moments. Make it a great day, folks. God bless. Okay. Pardon me. I hope that makes sense. I hope the stuff that I hope what I just laid on you makes sense. I hope it does. Let me click a few buttons and we'll get the after show started. Welcome to the after show. It's the show after the show. That's why we call it the after show. Never a dull moment. Yes, doing our best to keep you up to date. Everything that's happening in the news today, big stories. The Twitter files went from a drip now into a full-on flood. Elon Musk dropping more. And I know we just got done talking about this on the big show. Everybody looking for a savior right now. I would warn against that. Elon is not the savior. Trump is not a savior. I'm certainly not. But each one of us doing our own part, boy, we can move mountains, walking out in faith. That's how God works. And in fact, we'll talk more about that story with Twitter. The expected latest is coming, Twitter Files 4, right? The fourth release. Big stories in the drop here. Federal court blocks Biden administration for forcing Christian doctors to perform transsexual mutilation surgeries. Will the courts actually be effective in helping us? Mexican cartels are fueling the deadly U.S. fentanyl crisis. The U.S. is expected to announce a fusion energy breakthrough. I'll believe this when I see it. They've been talking about this for years. Will it actually happen? Talk a little bit about that in Tech Tuesday as well. And top House leader says bad news for 51 former U.S. intel agents. These are the people that said, oh, there's no Hunter Biden laptop. That's just a story. It's Russian disinformation. That's not real. He says, well, I think, you got some splaining to do. Some of you intel folks, we're going to call you out on the carpet. Now, I don't know. Again, McCarthy, this is not the guy. I'm not saying he's going to save everything. But I do welcome, and I think the Lord can use anybody. I think he can use all of us. I think he could use folks that you remember before Apostle Paul became Paul, he was Saul. He had to have his road to Damascus moment. Maybe there are folks out there that have to have that moment. He was out there killing Christians at one point. He was out there targeting and killing Christians at one point. We all have to have that moment. And And who knows what it takes. No, we all don't have to have that particular. Hopefully, it doesn't have to be as dramatic. But you see what I'm saying? There's a lot that goes into it. And boy, there are things happening behind the scenes that I don't know that we'll ever understand fully. I think they can only be explained as, sort of divine moments. Maybe the Lord working as he does in mysterious ways. Roto Report coming up. Reporters died suddenly and unexpectedly in a very unusual place. China backing away from some of its COVID. Now, this is Fauci loved China. China. Fauci loved. Oh, he sing the praises of Xi Jinping. Oh, Xi. Oh, Xi, you're the best. Oh, Xi. Gee, I just love how you lock people down. Oh, my goodness. And the masks. Oh, give me a break. The masks. Forget about it. Gee. Will you marry me, Gee? Fauci, imagine that. Fauci and Xi. Oh, boy. No, don't imagine that. Please don't. Does anyone know how the baby Will in New Zealand is doing? He was taken from his parents. I haven't heard an update on that yet. It is just absolutely a tragic situation. Plus, if we got an update, you watch any of it was 3 hours worth, maybe more. And I've got some highlights from it. The Senator Ron Johnson, they did back and forth. Senator Ron Johnson, just incredible stuff. Senator Ron Johnson, and they're going through the hearings of roundtable in D.C. last week. McCullough was there, Malone, Dr. Ryan Cole, a whole list. Now, you're talking about we're supposed to listen to the experts, folks. No, not those experts. No. I am the science. Excuse me. I am the science. So we're supposed to listen to them, but I guess we're not supposed to listen to this expert round table. We'll get to some of that as well. But the border's wide open. Mexican cartels with that fentanyl flooding across the border. Finally, CNN starting to mention it, or the Washington Post starting to mention it, talk about it. The leading cause of death, fentanyl is Americans age 18 to 49. You know who they're pointing the finger at is cartels now. Mexican cartel. But it's strange because you know where the actual fentanyl is produced and where it comes from? Strangely absent in it all is the mention of China. But where are they? This is where the stuff is coming from. It's under attack, and it's killing these 18 to 49-year-olds. Now, this is not a surprise in a culture of death where they want to kill babies, they want to kill the old, they want to kill fighting-age males with jabs that they force them to take in the military. I mean, everywhere you look, death awaits. BlackRock, one of the world's top asset managers, a major investor advocating for environmental, social, and corporate governance, warning 2023 will produce a recession like no other due to the Fed raising interest rates to curb decades of a high inflation, they say. This is coming out of the Epoch Times this morning. BlackRock saying there will be a big recession in 2023. Many large institutional banks are warning the market could drop by 20% or more. In addition, the U.S. housing market slowing due to decades high mortgage rates. They say current 30-year fixed mortgage rates at 7.32%, up 15 basis points. The Fed saying they're going to slow the way they raise the interest rates, but all of this, and folks, even BlackRock freaking out. Now, BlackRock is kind of freaking out because I don't know if you've seen this. BlackRock has they've been taking some heat behind the scenes. Some of the big states who had their pension funds and whatnot in BlackRock, they are very upset, pulling their money because of ESG and how it's all a Ponzi scheme. This ESG stuff is a Ponzi scheme. And essentially what it will do is hurt people like me and you. The little people. This is where they start to rate companies and whatnot on their environmental, social, and governance scores. How well are they doing in each are you environmentally friendly? Where do you get your energy? Who do you do business with? Are they environmentally friendly? Socially, are they involved in the social causes? And how do you figure out which social cause is the one to get involved in? Do you think it should be adoption? Human trafficking, fighting human trafficking? No. Those are not the cause we're looking. We're looking for Black Lives Matter. We're looking for the rainbow flag stuff. That's what we're looking for you to engage in. That's how we got to get a good score. You'll be socially engaged. And governance, that's just how you work with the government. Are you intertwined? Have you completed the fascist merger that needs to take place between corporate and government? Partnered, private and public partnerships. In other words, when the Democrats pick up the phone and tell you, Twitter, to ban people or to stop stories from getting out there, are you taking action for them? That is the other piece of all of this. So there you have it. Those are the big stories when it comes to some of the things economically. Let me remind you of this, though. You're hearing about this for a reason right now. You have time. We all do. Continue to prepare. In fact, I mentioned this yesterday on the local stream, and Steve said, I don't know if I'm doing enough. Well, that guy has done more than most people I know. He said, I don't know if I'm doing enough. I've done a little bit myself. I know I could do plenty more. You don't have to get overwhelmed thinking about, I can't possibly do it all. But do a little bit here and there to get prepared for no matter what may come. We don't know. I don't ever want you to be anxious or worried or, oh my gosh, what am I going to do? Prepare like it all depends on you. Pray like it all depends on God. That's my motto. And now there's never been a better time to really do this. Save $100 right now. They have a 4-week food supply, emergency food supply. Last on that shelf 5 years, My Patriots Supply. You can go to preparewithjustin.com. Anytime you support one of our sponsors and one of the folks like Patriot Supply, they are going to support us. See how this works? It's a win-win. You get stuff that you're going to need for your family. If not, there's no disaster that comes. Maybe it's just a hedge from inflation. Food costs could get completely out of hand. Food could become unaffordable at some point. We don't know. It's possible. And they've got plenty more than food there. They've got gear, and they've got water filtration supplies, and they've got canned goods and all kinds of stuff. And I've tasted the food. I got to tell you, I thought it would taste like cardboard. I had the mac and cheese. I loved it. We've done a little preparation. Might have to do a little bit more with another little one added to the family. But do yours today. Preparewithjustin.com. A $60 savings on a Christmas special right now. A crate for all emergencies. Preparewithjustin.com. Go to preparewithjustin.com and get ready for whatever may be on the horizon, whatever we face in the coming days. We really don't know. We've got some possibilities. We've got some thoughts. And, of course, if you want to go down that rabbit hole, some folks are posting some really good stuff to help you get prepared over on the locals. I know Matt has posted things. Steve has posted things. Lots of good stuff there inside of locals. Okay. Let's see what else. House GOP leader plans to subpoena U.S. intel agents. I told you about this earlier. They dismissed a Hunter Biden story. In fact, 51 of them came out, signed that letter together saying, this is Russian disinformation. Well, he wants to know why. Now, I don't believe that Kevin McCarthy is going to swoop in and save the day. Like, I don't believe any of these people. I don't believe Elon Musk is going to swoop in. I don't believe Donald Trump, President Trump, is going to swoop in and save the day necessarily. But I believe these people can be used by God. So I am praying for this. I am praying for him. I'm praying that they will get in. And they will take action on things that they need to. The Elon Musk drop on the COVID rules apparently coming today. He said, writing this weekend, that he would release more Twitter files. But the previous management's communication, it's Twitter 1.0. Their communication with the federal government, health officials, regarding how to deal with claims about COVID-19 rules and vaccines, mandates, things that they told you to do, things that they say you have to do. Take the jab. Take the jab. Take the jab. If you don't take the jab, oh boy. Holy smokes. You don't take the jab. You can't possibly work. You can't shop here. Remember that? That was one of the craziest. You can't shop in these stores if you don't have your. This stuff, I mean, it wasn't too long ago. But he's got more coming out. And in fact, should I make this part of the Rona? I feel like maybe this should be part of that Rona report. I got a few other things I'll get into as well. So let's do that. Bring on the Rona report. I did it earlier, so I'm not going to go through the spiel again, all of it at least. But it's the high praise to hell. St. Anthony of Wuhan. Mr. Booster. Tony Fauci. So, yeah, they say, Marcel, we got more of this Twitter stuff we're going to get out to you about COVID, specifically the info on the suspension of many doctors, scientists, who is involved, and the life-saving information that could have saved, I don't know, millions? Is it too out of, I mean, is it too crazy to think that they could have saved millions or let the truth come out? Oh, and by the way, I learned something over the weekend. If you got the jab and you're concerned, there's some help. And I think we're going to try and talk with one of these doctors who's come up with some protocols and some things that you can do that if you're concerned or maybe you're experiencing symptoms or something that's a problem. I'm going to try and nail some of that down in the coming days. So again, like I said, Elon's not right now he's doing the right things, and we've got to say trust but verify. And while he's doing the right things, we'll applaud those efforts, but he's not a savior. He's not perfect. He supports the jabs. I think he owns a vaccine manufacturing company too. I don't know what kind they make, but of course you look at Neuralink. That's spooky. That's spooky stuff. They want to put computer chips and things in your brain. He says, to be clear, I do support vaccines in general, and COVID vaccines specifically. The science is unequivocal. In very rare cases, there is an allergic reaction, but this is easily addressed with an EpiPen, he wrote at the time. This is a Twitter post from 2021. Several weeks ago, Twitter, though, indicated that it no longer enforces its policy against so-called COVID-19 misinformation, so he did get rid of that. So he could have changed his tune on it. I just haven't heard him speak out about it. I would hope that he would. We know some of this because we have the Fauci deposition. So more on that, and hopefully today, and hopefully we'll have more to share with you tomorrow. The story, this dies suddenly. Another story of a reporter now who died suddenly and at a very unusual place. U.S. soccer journalist Grant Wall dies while covering the World Cup in Qatar. Now, this is a guy who apparently, I guess, wore some sort of rainbow shirt or something. So his brother is saying, well, I think there may be something. There might have been, it may have been some, shenanigans that took place here. Well, I don't guarantee it, but I don't know if it's exactly what they're thinking. He thinks it might have been poison or something. I don't know. NPR National Supervising Editor Russell Lewis tweeted that Wall was covering the Argentina-Netherlands quarterfinal match when he died. He was only 49. Looks like he's in pretty good shape. In the area for media at the Lusail Stadium when he fell ill. I wonder if he actually fell. We've got video last week. We played that woman that just fell. Fell ill, tended to on the side by paramedics, taken to a hospital. Spokesperson for Qatar's Supreme Committee for Delivery and Legacy said, cause of death not immediately available. U.S. Soccer sent a statement that the team was, quote, heartbroken. Well, isn't that interesting? In a post December 5th on his personal website, Wall said he felt sick and that medical personnel on the site at the World Cup told him he probably had bronchitis. He said he was given antibiotics. My body finally broke down on me, he wrote. 3 weeks of little sleep, high stress, and lots of work can do that to you. What he says, what had been cold over the last 10 days turned into something more severe on the night of the USA-Netherlands game. I could feel in my upper chest take on a new level of pressure and discomfort. His wife, Dr. Celine Grounder, tweeted late Friday that the news came as a complete shock. I can't imagine praying for his family. And again, another situation. Died suddenly and unexpectedly. But when you say suddenly and unexpectedly these days, it depends on who you're asking. Suddenly and unexpectedly. And what do you expect these days? It depends on what you've been paying attention to. On what you've been paying attention to. Have you been paying attention? Been watching hours of testimony that they did the other day? The hearings in Washington, D.C., Senator Ron Johnson, some highlights. Find this on my Rumble channel. Now, some of this is incredible stuff, right? You're looking at some of the stats, you're hearing some of the testimony here, some of it incredible stuff. You're saying I'm getting some messages, we're not hearing the sound. Hang on, folks, we'll fix it. But I want to give you the headline of some of this. I'll give you some of the headline here, okay? And this is important. This is from picked out, and you'll hear it at some point here, of the 3 hours, and it's condensed the highlights. People in the UK that took the jab have a 26% higher mortality rate. That's part of the headline. people who took the jab have a 26% higher mortality
The
rate.
vaccine was introduced into the military in January of 2021.
We generated hundreds and hundreds of charts, looked at this every way from Sunday. The UK government, until this summer, was reporting a data series that showed the relative mortality rates for the vaccinated and unvaccinated by the number of doses of the vaccine. It simplifies down to a conclusion that says that through the last available data set, the people in the UK who took the vaccine have a 26% higher mortality rate.
Wow.
Society of Actuaries. In 2021, in ages 25 through 64, the employed people of our nation covered under group life, they experienced a 40% excess mortality. 1.2 million additional Americans in the employed segment of our population got disabled. That is the size of the state of Wyoming and Vermont combined that disappeared from the labor force.
As a journalist, I looked at the emergency use authorization for the vaccine and wanted to see had they achieved the stopping transmission, which is our definition of a vaccine. But when we looked at the emergency use authorization, what was known was that the data are not there, limited to assess the effects of the vaccine against transmission of SARS-CoV-2. They had no idea. They had no idea if it would stop the infection, yet they were making those statements on the news. And now we find out from the heads of Pfizer that they were never even testing inside the trials whether or not it could stop transmission.
Now they admit all this now, by the way. They admit all this. And you see Scarf Queen coming out admitting it in her book. All of this starting to come out. I will tell you, thank God for these people that are brave, that have the courage to step forth, that will admit it, share the truth. Thank God that folks like Rod Johnson, senator there out of Wisconsin, will step up and actually share this with people. Now, the Senate looks like it's not going to be controlled. It's going to be controlled by Democrats, apparently, at this point. Now, we just had Kristen Sinema come out and say that she's going to be an independent. And I think it's still going to be, she'll be Democrat in vote, basically in the way she votes. So I think the committees are split up, and a lot of the power that Ron Johnson had here, he's not going to be able to do some of the things he would now, but he can take some of this, pass it on to the House. The House will be able to take some action, but will they is another question. We've got to continue to encourage the folks that are out there doing the hard work, the tough work, that they actually get out there and they make those calls. Share some of this stuff. In fact, if you share this video, it's over on my Rumble channel, justinbarclay.com/Rumble. It's just highlights. A link to the full video. I think Del Bigtree Highwire had posted the full 3 hours. I linked to it in there. But if you just want highlights, it's about 9 minutes long. It's good to share with people because it gives, I think, a quick perspective. People can come to grips with some of the information in there. You can get it broken down to you in a easily sort of consumable way. But people need to hear about it. You can't have informed consent if you don't allow people to be informed. There's no such thing. There is no such thing. Okay. Let me talk real quickly. One last story. China currently making changes to abolish its COVID-19 trace tracking system. This is from CNN. I don't know how true it is. But according to officials in the country, since the beginning of the pandemic, China has used the system which tied to people's phone numbers. It was your phone, really, not your phone number, but your phone they used to track you. They are saying they're going away from this China zero policy, COVID policy. But I don't think, they love this. Fauci loved it. It's in the plans for what they want to do when they move forward. World Economic Forum, all these people, they love that. I don't think they're really going to. The heat got a little too hot, though, in China. The protests and cinema, and this, I did not intend this pun, but it was because of that apartment fire that killed those people, burned them alive. People have stood up and said no more. Now they're willing to stand up in China, where they know that if they do, they'll be caught and sent off to camps, and even worse. Maybe the family targeted for things. They're willing to stand up in Brazil. You see millions of people standing up saying, something went right in this election. I don't know. Something went right here. You got to ask, where are the Americans? What are we willing to do? Are we willing to get off our couch even at some point? Are we willing to share these videos? Are we willing to share the truth about what's happening? I would hope that you do. And I would hope that you're willing to do it too. Okay, so questions, some of the questions we had about this weekend and what took place. In fact, I want to talk about some of these lawsuits. Joanne's coming back to. I thought you were going to talk about your meeting with Mike and General Flynn. Well, I talked about it a lot last night. I talked about it a little bit during the radio program, and I'll talk a little bit more about it right now. But it wasn't a meeting. It was more of a, I don't know how to put it. It's kind of conference. It was designed, Flynn has this thing he calls digital soldiers. These are citizen journalists, podcasters, Patriot movement folks. There were big names there, all the way down to people that I think just beginning to start their podcast and haven't even started yet. They were all together. Clay Clark, who does the Reawaken America tour, they were all together at his place and coming together to talk about, how do you do some of these things and some of the stuff that you would find, I think, some of it probably behind the scenes, not very interesting. But there was a lot of talk about some of the subjects that you and I are probably very interested in. And Mike Lindell, who will begin promoting the My Pillow stuff on the show. I love My Pillow. I love Mike. He's a man of faith, but not only that, he's a warrior for the truth, a real patriot, and I love his products. Anyway, the interesting thing Mike had to say is that, and this was on Friday, it was the day the Kerry Lake lawsuit dropped. This lawsuit, and they clearly have issues in Arizona. They clearly had problems in that election, and it needs to be addressed. Will it be addressed? I think this lawsuit has the ability, and I think it will go to Supreme Court. Because you had too much. You have a governor, someone running for governor who is overseeing the election. We have all these problems with the election machinery. We have people that are disenfranchised. I have confidence that this thing will get sane. Now, what happens, I'm not sure, but I will tell you, Mike Lindell said that he had the full support from the RNC. By the way, it's Mike talking about running for the chair of the RNC. Whether that happens or not is a whole nother thing. But he said he had full support. They were sending their lawyers. They were going to pay some of the legal fees and pay for some of the lawyers that Mike was using. Until they read what he wanted for relief is what he said. Now, when you have a lawsuit, I guess one of the things that you have to put into your lawsuit is what you want to happen. In other words, hey, here's a problem. You're bringing it to the court. You're saying, hey, here's a problem. This happened. I was wronged. Here's what the solution ought to be. The relief is what they call it. So they looked at the relief. The RNC looked at the relief. They looked at what Mike was proposing for a solution, and they go, "Oh, yeah, we're not in." I know we said we're going to be in. We are not in. We take it back. We take it back. In fact, they went down to Atlanta and started yelling about, hey, we need money to fight Atlanta. And you saw what happened in Atlanta. So Mike said, you know what? That doesn't matter. I'm going to throw all the money I can at this stuff. And we're going to get this thing done. And we're going to continue to fight. We're not going to give up. I thought it was kind of interesting. The Kerry Lake lawsuit. How big? Did you hear the story? I think it was big news, probably one of the biggest pieces of news in a long time. Have you heard it anywhere? that lawsuit was filed in Arizona. I mean, aside from the usual suspects and folks like, I don't know, like, Gateway Pundit and all that. Have you heard? I mean, have you heard anything? Was Fox News covered it all? Has Fox News covered this story at all? The Kari Lake story. Tucker might. We will get. We'll have conversation. We'll have Mike on in the coming days to talk more about that. General Flynn was there as well. Lots of conversations behind the scenes about what we can do, what people should be doing. This was focused on these particular individuals, podcasters, freedom, patriot streamers, people that freedom, citizen journalists, people like that are in the movement or that want to help and start their own thing. So it was, I thought, a very good weekend. Lots learned. It was some things I probably can't talk about. Some of the things I can tell you. One of the biggest pieces, as I mentioned earlier on the air, is that there's no savior. There's no one coming to save us. There is no plan. There's no follow the plan stuff. That's just not the way things are going to work. And of course, I told you earlier when I was on the full show, I said, look, you and I are the plan. God has a plan, and you and I are a part of that plan. We've got to get engaged. We've got to get involved. I don't know what that looks like. In fact, it's going to look different for everyone, but you've got to ask God what you're supposed to be doing. What's your role to play? And you've got to ask him daily to show you, what are the next steps I need to take? Where do I need to go? What do I need to say? Give me the words. Guide my steps. That is the plan. Mary said, I hope you got to have some food while in Tulsa. I decided to become a chef while living there. I got to have some amazing food in Tulsa. In fact, they fed us at this thing. It was really awesome. Clay's got a great setup there. Reawaken America tours headed to Nashville in January. I'm thinking I might go to that one because it's closer than some of the others. Closer than Oregon. So I'll fill you in and keep you posted on all that. But the food was good. We had fajitas one day. The breakfast was good. They had breakfast for the first day, and then I don't know where that was from. The fajitas were really good from some place called Ted's, I think. We had a breakfast burrito from some place called Brahms. Clay has like an entire compound. He does, Kristen. It's really cool. In fact, I didn't know where I was going when I got there. I go, this is somebody's house. Where am I? Is this the right place? And there are goats, and there are chickens, and there are, there's this big pole barn / barn looking thing. It's not a pole barn. It's more like a barn. It's really cool. It's called the Lion's Den. And that's where a lot of the business and a lot of the things that gets done there gets done. You might have seen my friend Joshua Lehman there, Rochelle says. What show does he host? I may have. I met a lot of interesting people. People you probably would recognize, some of the names you would recognize, and some you wouldn't. But anyway, Tim says, next time you go to town, I can be your driver. It was a 12-hour. Let me tell you how this worked. I want to give you. I'm going to tell you. This is a perfect example. When I said to you, God has a plan, and we are a part of it. Be willing to hear from Him, listen, and then take action. So let me give you an example. Well, I got a text message from one of Clay's guys a while back. And my phone, it's constantly going off. I honestly, sometimes you can't, I can't, it's too much. But I got a text, I want to say about a month ago, from one of his guys, and said this: Clay and General Flynn wanted me to invite you to an event, holler when free. Well, we were about ready to have this baby. No, we had already had the baby. That was it. We had the baby. And in the middle, this was like 2 weeks after we had the baby. And so, life is like, I'm barely sleeping. Lizzie's barely sleeping. And it just was it was a wild time. I'm just doing everything I can to continue to come in here, do the show, keep the train rolling, the plate spinning, etc. So I didn't reply to this, but I had a bunch. I had like 100 text messages I hadn't replied to. And then last Wednesday night, I sat down and I replied to them all. Got rid of the ones that weren't relevant. Some of it was spam stuff. Whatever. So I said, hey, man, sorry I missed this. And he said, no worries. This is tomorrow. So he sent me the flyer of this thing. It's this podcaster workshop, Reawaken America. So it's a whole thing. It was Friday and Saturday, and it's in Tulsa. And I'm like, oh, boy. Patriot content providers, Patriot goods and service providers, Patriot resource and tool providers invited. So it was kind of a cool thing. There were lots of folks that were neat. Good to network and talk to each other, meet each other. But I said, I hate to ask, but is there a streaming component to this? I'd love to attend, but we have a newborn. It may be tough. He said, unfortunately, we don't stream these. I will for sure keep you in mind for the next one, though. If we do one, we'd love to have you there. So I asked a couple more questions. Well, what's this thing cost? I'm 12 hours away, but I may be able to swing it. I just need to get some logistics. This is all Thursday. Immediately when I got off the air on Thursday, I had this information. So it then tells me it's 100% free. They have breakfast and lunch for you both days. Here's the agenda and everything. And there's a Christmas party on Friday night. So he sends it all to me, and I'm like, oh, my gosh. It's free. And I'm looking at the names of who's going to be there, the people I know, some of the people I did know, and said, I go, wow, I think I'm supposed to be at this. I think I'm supposed to be here. So I talked to Lizzie, and I was on my way home, and I go, look, I think I'm supposed to. This is going to sound crazy, but I think I'm supposed to go to this. I think I'm supposed to be here. If you don't want me to go, I understand. I haven't left. I have not gone on any trips. I haven't, it's not just a newborn. We have a newborn with a 2-year-old, and it's doing both at the same time. The juggling of that is the tough part. And she's done a great job. She is an incredible mom. But I don't want to leave her. And of course, I don't want to leave. I'm thinking to myself, I got a weekend. I can rest and relax, or I go just drive 12 hours to. But I decided I was going to do this. And Lizzie said, you know what? I think you're supposed to do it too. We had to move some things around. I wasn't able to leave to get out until 2. I left 2 o'clock in the afternoon. I got there 3 o'clock in the morning. Basically 2:30, 3 o'clock in the morning, Tulsa time. So I drove, that's 14 hours because of the time change. My point is, I got in the car and I went. God spoke and I went. Now, I'm not telling you that every little thing that passes through your brain, you go, oh, that was God. I got to move. I got to do stuff. No. You have to have discernment. You have to have wisdom. You have to have enough to understand that this is God speaking. Or no, that was just some bad chili the night before, and I had a weird dream or something. You would test this stuff, and you should. But everything just aligned perfectly. And then when we had to move things around and sort of work things out to make this happen, and then everything was just smooth. It was just perfect. So I say that to you as it's just an example. Now, I am not perfect. I do not listen. I do not hear. There are so many have never. I don't, God's just like, hey, Trying to get your attention. Trying to get your attention, buddy. Hello, McFly. But that would be my advice, is to listen and then move. Whatever you can do. A lot of times, this is probably more than it's going to be uncomfortable. It's going to be you have to do something different. Something you don't want to do. You have to come out of your comfort zone or whatever it might be. But I will tell you, it will be worth it. Now, everything's not always going to be easy. Everything's not going to be without suffering. Look, we're called to some of these things. But, folks, we're talking about saving our country, and we are talking about saving people. And these are such monumental situations, and do not underestimate the times that we live in. So that's that's my story, and I'm sticking to it. As far as Tulsa was my first time there, I asked a friend, actually our pastor who went to school there, and he just loved it and gave me like a detailed list of here's what you should try. I had one of the best steaks I have had in my entire life. It was just it was an unbelievable experience. It was great. Food was good. If you're going to buy more stuff from Mike Lindell, by the way, wait a couple of days at least. We're going to get a promo code. You can help support Mike, and you can help support the program as well. So all that to tell you. So I will wrap up saying this, folks, because this is important. If you got more questions, I can answer more about them in the future. But I did a whole thing on locals about this. I think I answered pretty much everybody's question last night. Question that anybody had about this, what these guys said, what we talked about, whatever it looks like. The questions we need help with. Anything that you want answered. I'll do a lot of that. We do Q&As, fireside chats, and locals. It's a great time. It's a completely different sort of rhythm. And it's just like a relaxed, calm. Everybody's welcome. It's free for anybody. If you want to support, you can. But it is free to become a member. I recommend you do that because we don't know how long Facebook or YouTube or any of these places are going to continue to let us do what we're doing. JustinBarclay.com/locals. JustinBarclay.com/locals. Jane, it is not, you don't have to pay for it. She says, I don't have the $5 to spare. It's not $5, Jane, it's $7. First and foremost. And second of all, that's if you feel like you want to support. You get all kinds of extras if you wanted to support. It's free. It is free. It is free. It is free. I know people have this idea that locals cost money, but it doesn't. It only costs money if you want to get in the chat or if you want like crazy things like, oh, you get my audiobook for free that most people have to pay for. Or you want the crazy 25% discount code that I have for folks in there. Just hit the X, Elizabeth said. So I think there's an X you can click out and you don't have to pay for it. It's free. It's free. Now, here's what you do have to pay for. And this is it. You will pay a bigger price if you don't pay this price today. 10% off for the big guy. Anything you want to order from the store has to be ordered today to get it under your tree for Christmas. If you don't get it today, boy, oh boy, you're not going to get it in time for Christmas. That's what they say. Now, I don't know that this is what they're warning us about. I wanted to make sure that you knew. The company that helps put this stuff together for us. JustinBarclay.com/store. This is the last day. 10% for the big guy. You'll save. 10% for the big guy. Big thanks, by the way, to the folks that did come over to support us yesterday. Got some new folks in there, got some new members, lots of new members, and new supporters as well on Locals. Koresh, Union Trash, and Tammy Adams. I appreciate you. Appreciate you. Lots of good folks in there hanging out with us. And, of course, that's it. Al says he can't afford anything anymore. He's gone broke, or he would, but he can't afford that either. So I can't afford to pay attention. Folks, I get it. I understand. That's the Biden economy we live in. But, you know, we make room for the things that are important to us. And if you have it, then spare it. If not, that's okay, too. We do plenty of free stuff. I don't charge you for this. The only thing you have to pay here is attention. And sometimes people don't even do that. Anyway, that's that, my friends. I appreciate you. You are making all of this possible, the program, getting the word out. Even if you support by clicking links, visiting sponsors, or just say, hey, I'm going to reshare this or retweet this or retruth it or whatever it is on the platform that you use. Share the information with everybody else. Al says, I need dog food. Well, I know about your pug. As cute and adorable as your pug is, yes, your dog does need food. And I don't think Mike Lindell has started selling his dog food yet. My dog food? Have we got, is that, but you know, I know he's around the coffee, so give him some time, Al. There may be some Mike Lindell, my dog food at some point. If that does happen, I'll let you know. And in the meantime, you're more than welcome to be here for free and hang out with us. I love you. Welcome all of you guys. All right. Don't ever feel like you have to do something. Don't ever feel like you're compelled, like I have to do this, that, or the other thing. No, just folks, the only thing we have to do is get the word out about what's happening here. And I appreciate you being here with us. All right. That's it. Make it a great day. Back tomorrow at 9:06. God bless.